The grand chamber of the galactic hegemony fell silent as Admiral Zexictar limped toward the speaking platform. His gray, leathery skin bore the scars of countless battles, and one of his forearms ended in a mechanical replacement that whirred softly with each movement. The War Council members watched with a mixture of respect and impatience as the old veteran adjusted the holographic display. Supreme Commander Valkron, honored members of the War Council, Zexictar began, his voice raspy from years of breathing, the toxic air of battlefield planets. I must speak against the planned invasion of the planet designated as Earth. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Earth was merely a Class 3 developing world, barely worth noting in the vast empire's expansion plans. What could possibly warrant such concern from a decorated admiral? Supreme Commander Valkron leaned forward, his red eyes narrowing. Admiral, the conquest of Earth has already been approved. Their technology is primitive. Their defenses are minimal. Their resources are needed for our expansion in the Orion sector. With respect, Commander, Zexictar replied, tapping his mechanical arm against the display console, bringing up images of a blue-green planet. There is something you should know about Earth, specifically about their females. Laughter echoed across the chamber. Commander Valkron's mouth twisted into what passed for a smile in his species. Their females? Admiral, has age finally addled your tactical mind? Valkron's voice dripped with mockery. Next you'll warn us about their household pets. Zexictar didn't smile back. Instead he pressed another button, and the hologram changed to show the wreckage of a small spacecraft. 30 cycles ago I led a reconnaissance mission to Earth. It was supposed to be simple. Land, collect samples, observe their military capabilities, leave without detection. We lost 3 ships and 17 soldiers. The laughter died away as the images shifted to show strange weapons and scenes of combat. Our intelligence was flawed, Zexictar continued. We believed, as you do now, that their females were non-combatants, possibly useful only as hostages or labor. We were wrong. On Earth, Commander Susan Wright walked across the polished floor of the underground facility known only as the Bunker. Located 300 feet beneath the Wyoming plains, it housed Earth's most advanced alien monitoring equipment and the specialized team Susan had personally selected. Tell me again what we're seeing, Olivia, Susan said, stopping in front of a wall of screens displaying strange energy patterns detected near Jupiter's orbit. Olivia Reynolds, a former NASA signals analyst with piercing blue eyes and short blonde hair, pointed to the rippling patterns. It started 3 days ago. It's not natural, Commander. Something's hiding out there, bending light around itself. Susan nodded, her face giving away nothing of the concern building inside her. At 42, she had spent half her life preparing for this moment. After the incidents 30 years ago, incidents the public never knew about, the world's governments had secretly funded her unit. Have you shown this to anyone else? Susan asked. Just Alan, Olivia replied, referring to Lieutenant Alan Garcia, Susan's second in command. He's running it through the pattern matching system now, comparing it to the 2023 encounter. Susan looked around the busy control room where 20 specialists worked at various stations. None of them knew the full truth. Only she, Olivia, and Alan had clearance for that. Call Alan and meet me in the secure room in 5 minutes, Susan ordered, already walking toward her office. She needed to check something first. In her private office, Susan unlocked a safe hidden behind a painting of the Grand Tetons. Inside was a small metal container. She opened it to reveal what looked like a silvery pebble with strange markings. It had been given to her by her mentor, General Helen Martinez, who had led the defense against the first alien scout group. They'll come back, Helen had told her before she died. And when they do, this will help us know them. The pebble began to glow faintly blue, something it hadn't done in all the years Susan had kept it. She quickly locked it back in the safe and headed to the secure meeting room. Alan Garcia was already waiting there, his usual relaxed demeanor replaced with tension. At 35, he was the youngest senior officer in the unit, a former Air Force pilot whose encounter with something unexplainable over the Arctic had brought him to Susan's attention. "Commander," he said as she entered, "the patterns match. Not similar, identical. Whatever was here 30 years ago is back, and there's more of them this time. Olivia joined them, closing the heavy door behind her. I've got something else, she said, placing a tablet on the table. Astronomical observatories around the world are reporting gravitational anomalies. They're attributing it to instrument error, but Susan finished her sentence. But it's not error. It's them trying to hide their mass. She took a deep breath and pressed a button under the conference table. A hidden panel in the wall slid open, revealing a red phone. We're initiating firewall protocol, she said. Alan, alert our people embedded in key military positions worldwide. Olivia, start monitoring all communication channels for unusual signals. I'm going to make the call to activate our sleeper defense network. As Susan reached for the phone, she caught her reflection in a darkened monitor screen. Her mother had fought in the first encounter. Now it was her turn. She picked up the receiver. In the Hegemony War Council, Admiral Zexictar was still speaking, his voice now urgent. Their women are not what they appear to be. They think differently. They fight differently. When our forces attacked what we thought was a simple research outpost, it was a female officer who organized the counterattack. When we tried to use our neural disruptors, which had been calibrated for male brain patterns, they had minimal effect on the females. Supreme Commander Valkron waved a dismissive hand. Ancient history, Admiral. Our technology has advanced considerably since then. But has your understanding? Zexictar challenged. Have you studied how Earth women think, how they strategize, how they adapt? Have you considered that we might be repeating the same mistake? Enough. Valkron stood. Your concerns are noted, Admiral, but the invasion will proceed as planned. Earth will fall within one standard cycle, and their resources will fuel our expansion. He addressed the War Council. Prepare the fleet. We move on Earth in 3 rotations. As the council members filed out, General Drex of the invasion force stopped beside Zexictar. Don't worry, old soldier. I'll bring you back an Earth female as a pet. You can study her all you want. Zexictar watched them go, his scarred face grim. They didn't understand. They hadn't seen what he had seen. He touched a hidden communicator on his wrist and sent a coded message to a contact he had maintained for 3 decades, a warning that would soon reach Earth. They're coming, the message said, and they still haven't learned. 3 days later, a sleek alien vessel entered Earth's atmosphere under the cover of darkness. Unlike the warships waiting beyond Mars, this ship was designed for stealth and diplomacy, the hegemony's standard first step before invasion. The ship landed in an empty field outside of Washington, D.C., its cloaking technology making it invisible to most Earth detection systems. Most, but not all. In the bunker, Olivia Reynolds watched the ship's descent on a special monitor. They're here, she said into her secure phone. Just as Admiral Zexictar's message warned. One diplomatic vessel, likely carrying their version of ambassadors. Susan Wright was already in her car, driving toward the Pentagon. Keep tracking them. I'm meeting with the Joint Chiefs in 20 minutes. Alan is activating our people in D.C. now. The world governments had agreed years ago on a first contact protocol. Captain Laura Mitchell had been chosen to lead it. 38, Laura had served in both military intelligence and diplomatic corps. She spoke 7 languages and had a gift for reading non-human body language, a skill discovered during the classified study of the remains from the previous alien encounter. Laura stood now in a hastily prepared meeting room at a secure government facility, reviewing her notes one last time. Beside her, Diplomatic Officer William Peterson adjusted his tie nervously. How do I look? He asked, attempting to smile. Like someone about to meet aliens for the first time, Laura replied, her own face calm despite the butterflies in her stomach. Remember, let me do most of the talking. Watch their movements. Note anything unusual. A phone on the wall rang. Laura answered it. They're here, she said to William after hanging up. Showtime. The door opened, and 3 figures entered. They appeared almost human, but their skin had a bluish tint. Their eyes were larger and completely black, and they stood nearly 7 feet tall. The one in front wore elaborate robes with symbols that Laura recognized from briefing materials as denoting high rank. "Greetings," the lead alien said in perfect English. "I am Envoy Krell of the Galactic Hegemony. These are my associates, Technician, Vex, and Cultural Specialist Mora." He gestured to the two aliens behind him. Laura stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Envoy Krell. I am Captain Laura Mitchell, representing Earth's United Diplomatic Front. This is William Peterson, our diplomatic attaché." Krell's eyes widened slightly at Laura's introduction, a reaction she noted immediately. The alien quickly composed himself. "We come in peace," Krell continued, "to establish relations between our civilizations. The hegemony spans thousands of worlds across this galaxy, and we wish to welcome Earth into our community." Laura smiled politely. "We're honored by your interest in our world. Please, sit." As they took their seats at the large table, Laura noticed the alien called Mora staring at her with particular intensity. There was something off about the alien's posture, too stiff, too rehearsed. Under the table, Laura pressed a button on a small device hidden in her pocket. The device, developed from recovered alien technology, began scanning the visitors for weapons and communication signals. "Tell me, Envoy Krell," Laura said, "what prompted the hegemony to visit Earth now? Our world must seem primitive compared to the advanced civilizations in your community." Krell's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "The hegemony constantly explores the galaxy, seeking new friends and trading partners. Your world has shown remarkable development in recent decades." The scanner in Laura's pocket vibrated twice. It signaled that it had detected something important. She maintained her diplomatic smile while her mind raced. The device only gave that specific vibration pattern when it detected active weapons systems. "And what might you be interested in trading?" Laura asked, keeping her voice pleasant. "Earth has many resources, though I imagine most seem common to a galactic civilization." William, following the protocol they had practiced, took notes as the conversation continued. Under the guise of writing, he was actually controlling a second scanner built into his pen, focusing it on each alien in turn. "Cultural exchange would be our primary interest initially," Krell replied. "Technology, art, literature. The hegemony values diversity of thought." Laura caught the quick glance between Krell and the one called Vex. A subtle communication that her trained eye didn't miss. "How fascinating," she said. "And how many other worlds like Earth has the hegemony contacted recently?" 17 in the past cycle, Krell answered smoothly. Too smoothly, Laura thought. The meeting continued for another hour, with Laura carefully guiding the conversation to extract as much information as possible while revealing little about Earth. When the aliens finally left, promising to return the next day with gifts of friendship, Laura waited until their transport had departed before speaking. "They're lying," she said to William. "Almost everything they said was a fabrication." William nodded grimly. "My scanner confirms it. Their ship is heavily armed for a diplomatic vessel, and they're actively mapping our defensive capabilities." Laura pulled out her secure phone. "Susan needs to know immediately. This isn't first contact, it's pre-invasion intelligence gathering." That night, Susan Wright couldn't sleep. She sat in her kitchen, reviewing the data from Laura's meeting while sipping tea. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Her military instincts suddenly flared to life. She slowly set down her cup and reached under the table where a small handgun was secured. Years of training had taught her to trust her senses. The slight whirring sound from outside was almost imperceptible. Almost. Susan moved silently through her house, turning off lights as she went. When she reached her bedroom, she quickly activated a hidden panel in her closet, revealing advanced weapons that no civilian should possess. She selected what looked like a metal baton and closed the panel just as her window glass began to vibrate subtly. 3 alien commandos materialized in her living room, their cloaking technology deactivating as they entered the house. They wore light armor and carried strange weapons that hummed with energy. They moved with military precision, checking rooms methodically. Susan waited in the shadows of her hallway, the baton extended to its full 6-foot length. As the first commando turned the corner, She swung, catching him across what she hoped was a vulnerable area. The alien dropped without a sound. The second commando reacted quickly, raising his weapon, but Susan had already thrown herself forward, rolling across the floor and sweeping the alien's legs. As he fell, she brought the baton down hard on his chest. The alien convulsed as if shocked and went still. The third alien fired his weapon. A pulse of energy missed Susan by inches, burning a hole in her wall. She flung the baton like a javelin, hitting the alien in the arm. As he staggered, she closed the distance between them and delivered a precise strike to what appeared to be a nerve cluster in his neck. The alien collapsed. Susan stood breathing heavily, surrounded by 3 unconscious alien commandos. She grabbed her secure phone and dialed. "It started," she said when Alan answered. "They tried to take me tonight. 3 commandos. I have them contained and their weapons secured." She looked down at the aliens. "And Alan, tell Olivia she was right. Their neural systems are vulnerable to direct electrical counterpulses. The stun batons work. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Zexictar received the report of the failed abduction attempt. His scarred face showed no surprise, only grim validation. I warned them," he muttered to himself. "Earth's women are not to be underestimated." He turned to his communication panel and began encoding a message, not to the War Council, but to Earth. They would need everything he could tell them about the invasion force that was now surely coming. The sky burned red over Boston as the first wave of alien ships broke through the atmosphere. The hegemony had abandoned all pretense of diplomacy. Their massive warships now hovered over major cities across the globe, launching smaller attack vessels toward military bases and government buildings. Colonel Patricia Collins stood on the roof of the experimental defense facility she commanded, watching 3 alien ships approach. At 45, Patricia had spent the last 15 years developing technology based on the alien wreckage from the previous encounter. Now, it was time to see if her work would save lives. "Status report," she said into her communication device. "Shield generators at 98% capacity," responded the technician below. "Weapon systems online. All personnel at battle stations." Patricia nodded, her short gray hair blowing in the wind created by the approaching ships. "Activate the shield. On my mark. 3, 2, 1 mark." A shimmer of blue energy formed a dome over the facility. Seconds later, the alien ships opened fire. Energy weapons struck the shield, creating ripples of light but causing no damage. The aliens fired again, more intensely. Patricia smiled grimly. "Now we return the favor. Fire Omega sequence." From emplacements around the facility, Earth weapons of strange design rose and fired beams of golden light. The beams cut through the alien ship's shields like they weren't there. One ship exploded immediately. The second spun out of control and crashed into a nearby empty field. The third retreated hastily. "It works," Patricia said softly. "The frequency modulation works." She keyed her global communications channel. "All defense units, this is Colonel Collins. Set your shield harmonics to rotating pattern Omega-3 and your weapons to frequency 12.7. Repeat, frequency 12.7. The alien shields cannot stop it." Across the world, similar scenes played out with varying results. Where Earth forces had time to implement Patricia's discoveries, they held their ground. Elsewhere, the aliens gained footholds. In Johannesburg, Major Elizabeth Owens led her Special Forces team through the smoke-filled streets. Ahead of them, an alien landing craft had crashed relatively intact after being hit by conventional missiles. "Move. Fast," Elizabeth ordered her team. "We need that ship before they send recovery forces." Elizabeth's team had trained for years for this moment. They wore armor developed from the previous alien encounter and carried weapons modified based on Susan Wright's findings. As they approached the downed craft, 2 injured aliens emerged, firing wildly. Elizabeth and her team took cover. She observed the aliens' movements carefully, noting how they favored their right sides when aiming. "Jenkins, Monroe, flanking positions," she ordered. "Carter with me. Fire on my mark, aim for their left shoulder joints." The team moved into position. Elizabeth counted down with hand signals, then gave the command. 4 precise shots hit the aliens exactly where Elizabeth had indicated. Both aliens dropped instantly. "Forward," Elizabeth commanded. They reached the ship and secured the entrance. "Carter, stand guard. Everyone else inside. We have 5 minutes to learn everything we can." Inside the craft, Elizabeth moved directly to what appeared to be the control center. She plugged a small device into an opening that resembled a data port. The device, designed by Catherine Daniels based on Admiral Zexictar's specifications, began downloading the ship's database. "Major," called one of her team members, "you need to see this." Elizabeth joined the soldier in what looked like a weapons bay. Inside were racks of unusual devices, not guns or explosives, but something else. "Neural disruptors," Elizabeth said, recognizing them from her briefings. "These are designed to attack the human nervous system." She picked one up carefully. "Get 3 of these back to base for analysis." Her comm device beeped. "Major Owens, alien reinforcements inbound, 2 minutes." "Download complete," reported another soldier by the control console. "Rig the engines to overload," Elizabeth ordered. "We're taking what we can carry and moving out. Standard scattering pattern." 4 minutes later, Elizabeth's team was safely away when the alien ship exploded, taking with it a second alien vessel that had landed to investigate. But Elizabeth and her team had escaped with something priceless: alien technology and data that could turn the tide. In the hidden bunker beneath Wyoming, Susan Wright coordinated the global defense efforts. Screens around her showed battles raging across the planet. Some showed success, others defeat. Alan Garcia managed communications while Olivia Reynolds worked frantically at her station. "I've got something," Olivia said suddenly. "The neural targeting systems in their weapons. I've analyzed the frequency patterns from the captured weapons and the data from Johannesburg." Susan moved to her side. "What have you found?" "The weapons are calibrated specifically to disrupt male brain patterns," Olivia explained, pointing to complex waveforms on her screen. "Female nervous systems are affected too, but only at about 60% effectiveness. That's why Admiral Zexictar was so specific in his warning." Susan's eyes widened as the implications became clear. That's why they targeted male military leaders first in their initial strikes. Alan joined them, his face grim. "And why female-led units are having more success in direct combat. The aliens don't understand that they've given us an edge." Susan turned to the main communication console. "Patch me through to all defending forces. Priority channel." When the connection was established, Susan spoke clearly and firmly. "All units, this is Commander Wright. We have confirmed that alien neural weapons are less effective against female personnel. Reorganize your frontline units accordingly. Female soldiers should lead assaults against alien positions. Male personnel focus on support roles, heavy weapons, and second-wave attacks." She paused, then added, "This is not about gender superiority. This is about using every advantage we have against an enemy that wants to destroy us all." Right out. As Susan ended the transmission, a new message came through on the secure channel established with Admiral Zexictar. "Commander Wright," the alien's voice came through, strained and urgent. "The War Council has removed me from command for my warnings about Earth's women. I am being detained, but I've managed to secure this channel temporarily. They are sending their command ship, the Dominion, to oversee the invasion personally. Supreme Commander Valkron himself comes to claim Earth." There was a pause, then Zexictar continued. "I've transmitted the Dominion's shield frequencies and vulnerable points to this channel. The file is encoded. Only a female mind can properly interpret the patterns." "Why are you helping us?" Susan asked. The Admiral was silent for a moment. "Because long ago, my own world faced extinction. It was our females who found a way to survive when the males had surrendered hope. I see the same spirit in Earth's women. The hegemony must learn that some worlds are not for conquering." The transmission ended abruptly. Susan turned to Olivia. "Can you decode the file?" Olivia was already working on it, her fingers flying across her console. "It's strange. The patterns seem to shift when I look at them, but yes, I can see structure in them." Susan nodded. "Keep working on it. Alan, contact Patricia Collins and Elizabeth Owens. It's time we stopped defending and started pushing back. As night fell over Earth, the planet burned, but it was not defeated. And in the darkness, a plan was forming. A plan that would bring the fight directly to the invaders. 3 days into the invasion, Earth forces had managed to hold key positions but were gradually losing ground. The massive alien command ship, the Dominion, had taken position in Earth's orbit, directing the assault with terrible efficiency. From this floating fortress, Supreme Commander Valkron watched the battle unfold with growing frustration. How is it possible they still resist? He demanded of his generals. They are primitives with primitive weapons. General Drex bowed his head. Supreme Commander, we have encountered unexpected difficulties. Their defense systems have adapted to our weapons faster than anticipated, and the intelligence from Admiral Zexictar appears to have been correct about their females. Valkron slammed his fist on the control panel. Nonsense! I want their major defense centers destroyed by the next rotation. Use the pulse cannons if necessary. In the Wyoming bunker, Susan Wright gathered her team for what might be their final chance to turn the tide. The Dominion is the key, she said, pointing to a holographic display of the massive command ship. Our ground forces are buying us time, but we can't win a war of attrition. We need to cut off the head of the snake. Olivia Reynolds stepped forward. I've decoded Admiral Zexictar's data, the Dominion's shield frequencies, and these points here, she highlighted several locations on the hologram, are vulnerable to precisely targeted attacks. Susan nodded. Good work. Now we need a way to get to those points. Laura Mitchell, who had arrived from Washington the previous day, spoke up. The diplomatic vessel. It's still on Earth, secured at our facility. If we could get control of it, we could approach the Dominion under the guise of surrender, Susan finished. But who would pilot it? Who knows how to operate alien technology? Catherine Daniels raised her hand. Catherine was a brilliant engineer who had been studying alien technology for years. At 36, she had already revolutionized Earth's understanding of non-human interfaces. I can fly it, she said confidently. The control systems are complex but follow logical patterns. I've been working with the smaller craft captured in Johannesburg. The principles should be similar. Susan considered this for a moment. We'll need a small team. Too many people would raise suspicions. I'll go, Laura volunteered. I've dealt with their diplomats. I know their protocols. Count me in, Catherine added. Someone needs to handle the technical aspects. Susan looked at them both. I'll lead the mission. We'll also need someone with combat experience. She turned to a quiet man standing at the back of the room. Richard Summers, you're our tactical specialist. Are you in? Richard, a veteran of special operations who had fought the aliens in 3 major battles already, nodded grimly. Wouldn't miss it for the world, Commander. The plan came together quickly. Patricia Collins would coordinate a major ground assault to distract the hegemony forces, while Elizabeth Owens led a series of surgical strikes against alien communication relays. Meanwhile, Susan's team would take the diplomatic vessel and attempt to board the Dominion. As they prepared, Susan received another transmission from Admiral Zexictar. I've escaped detention, the alien said, his voice hushed. I'm currently hiding in the maintenance sectors of the Dominion. If you're planning what I think you're planning, I can help from inside. There's a secondary docking bay used for maintenance, vessels near the ship's aft section. It's less guarded. Susan memorized the information. Why are you risking your life for this, Admiral? There was a pause before Zexictar answered. Because some principles transcend species, Commander Wright. The hegemony has forgotten that conquest without honor is merely destruction. Your world reminds me of what we once were. The next morning, as Earth forces launched their coordinated attacks across the globe, Susan's team boarded the alien diplomatic vessel. Catherine took the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across the strange controls. It's responding, she said with a small smile of triumph. Navigational systems online, communication systems active. Laura stood beside her. I've studied their communication patterns. I can mimic their protocols well enough to get us close. Richard checked their weapons. modified alien guns combined with Earth technology, designed by Patricia's team to penetrate alien armor. Susan carried a special device that Olivia had created to interface with the Dominion systems once they were aboard. "Everyone ready?" Susan asked. When they all nodded, she turned to Catherine. "Take us up." The ship rose smoothly from Earth, climbing through the atmosphere. As they approached space, the massive form of the Dominion came into view, a city-sized vessel bristling with weapons. Laura activated the communication system. "Hegemony vessel requesting emergency docking. We carry high-value human prisoners for interrogation. Authorization code Krell 7 Delta 9. There was a tense moment of silence before a response came. "Authorization accepted. Proceed to main docking. Bay." "Negative," Laura replied smoothly. "Vessel damaged during capture. Requesting alternate docking at maintenance bay, aft section." Another pause. "Proceed to maintenance bay 3. Security will meet you." Catherine guided the ship toward the designated area, following the coordinates Zexictar had provided. As they approached, Susan addressed her team one last time. "Once we're inside, we'll have minutes at most before they realize something's wrong. Richard and I will secure our path to the main control systems. Laura, you'll handle any communication challenges. Catherine, your job is to get to their engineering section and plant Olivia's device." The ship docked with a gentle bump. Through the viewport, they could see several armed aliens waiting for them. "Here goes nothing," Richard muttered, checking his weapon one last time. As the docking door opened, the alien security team stepped forward, weapons raised. Before they could react, Richard fired 3 precise shots. 2 aliens fell immediately. The third managed to trigger an alarm before Susan's shot took him down. "So much for the element of surprise," Susan said. "Move fast, we stick to the plan." They raced through the corridors of the massive ship, following the schematics Zexictar had provided. Twice they encountered alien patrols and had to fight their way through. Richard took a glancing hit to his shoulder, but insisted he could continue. 8. A junction. Admiral Zexictar stepped out from behind a panel, startling them. The scarred alien raised his hands quickly. "This way," he said urgently. "They're sealing off sections of the ship. We need to hurry." With Zexictar guiding them, they made better progress. The Admiral led them through maintenance tunnels and service corridors unknown to most of the crew. "The engineering section is through there," Zexictar pointed. "The bridge is 2 levels up." Catherine nodded and split off with Laura to head for engineering. Susan and Richard with Zexictar continued toward the bridge. "Why is the ship so lightly defended internally?" Susan asked as they moved. "Arrogance," Zexictar replied. "The hegemony never imagined anyone would dare to board their command ship, and certainly not a group led by Earth females." As they approached the bridge, alarms blared throughout the ship. Richard, now limping from a second wound, took up a defensive position. "I'll hold them off here," he said grimly. "You two get to the bridge." Susan wanted to argue, but there was no time. She nodded to Richard, then followed Zexictar toward the final confrontation with Supreme Commander Valkron. The doors to the bridge of the Dominion slid open. Susan Wright and Admiral Zexictar stepped through, weapons ready. Inside, Supreme Commander Valkron stood at the center of a large control room surrounded by alien officers. His tall frame stiffened at the sight of the human woman and the admiral he had dismissed. "Admiral Zexictar," Valkron said coldly, "I should have executed you when I had the chance." Zexictar stepped forward. "You should have listened to me, Commander. I tried to warn you." Valkron's black eyes shifted to Susan. "So this is one of the feared Earth females. She looks so fragile." He made a gesture, and his officers drew their weapons. Susan remained calm. "I am Commander Susan Wright of Earth's Defense Forces. I'm here to offer you one chance to end this invasion and leave our world in peace." Laughter rippled through the bridge. Valkron stepped closer, towering over Susan. "You board my ship with a handful of primitives and presume to dictate terms? Your species truly is as arrogant as it is foolish." "Sir," one of the alien officers interrupted, checking a screen. "We're detecting unusual activity in the engineering section. Security teams report intruders. Valkron's expression darkened. Secure the engine core. Nothing must interfere with the final attack. He turned back to Susan. Your little diversion will fail. Even now, our pulse cannons are charging to strike your major population centers. Earth will be subdued in hours. Susan noticed a subtle change in the lighting. A brief flicker that told her Catherine and Laura had succeeded in planting Olivia's device. She needed to buy more time. Why does the hegemony insist on conquest? She asked. Surely cooperation would benefit us both more. Valkron circled her, studying her with curiosity. The strong rule, Commander Wright. The weak submit. This is the natural order of all things. He stopped in front of her. Though I admit, your resistance has been educational. Suddenly the ship's alarms blared again. The main view screen showed Earth vessels rising from the planet's surface, hundreds of them, using the alien technology Patricia Collins had adapted. Impossible, Valkron whispered, watching Earth's counterattack begin. He whirled to face Susan. What have you done? Susan smiled slightly. Exactly what you feared, we adapted. In the engineering section, Catherine Daniels and Laura Mitchell had reached the main power core, fighting their way past alien security with the weapons Richard had provided. Catherine connected Olivia's device to a control panel, her fingers moving swiftly across the alien interface. How much longer? Laura asked, firing at the door they had sealed behind them. Almost there, Catherine replied. Olivia's program is rewriting their security protocols. Once it's done, we'll have control of their main weapons and shields. She pressed a final sequence. Got it. Throughout the massive ship, systems began to respond to Catherine's commands. Shield frequencies shifted. Weapon systems powered down. Communication arrays stopped transmitting orders to the invasion fleet. On the bridge, chaos erupted as officers reported failures across all systems. Valkron roared in anger. What is happening? He demanded of his chief engineer. The systems are no longer responding, Commander. We're locked out of weapons control and shields are failing. Valkron drew his own weapon and aimed it at Susan. This ends now. Before he could fire, Zexiktar lunged forward, knocking the commander's arm aside. The energy blast hit the ceiling, raining debris down on them. Susan used the distraction to move, drawing her own weapon and firing at the other officers on the bridge. Valkron recovered quickly and struck Zexiktar with tremendous force, sending the older alien crashing into a control panel. He turned to face Susan, his massive frame vibrating with rage. Your species has been a thorn in the hegemony's side for too long, he growled, advancing on her. Susan holstered her weapon. Valkron was protected by a personal shield that her gun couldn't penetrate. This would have to be hand-to-hand. She took a fighting stance, recalling everything she had learned about alien physiology. Your defiance is pointless, Valkron said, striking at her with lightning speed. Susan ducked under his swing, noting the pattern of his movement. The aliens were strong but predictable. They relied on power rather than adaptation. She spun away from his next attack, landing a precise strike at a nerve cluster near his elbow. Valkron faltered, surprised by the effectiveness of the blow. This is impossible, he said, his voice showing the first hint of uncertainty. Our combat systems analyzed all human fighting methods. Not all of them, Susan replied, continuing to circle him. Your systems were programmed by male analysts to counter male fighting techniques. Women fight differently. She moved in again, this time feinting to his left before striking at his right side. Her blow connected solidly, and Valkron staggered back. Before he could recover, Susan delivered a series of quick strikes to points she knew were vulnerable in his species. Valkron fought furiously, but Susan was faster, more adaptive. She anticipated his movements and countered each one. Finally, she landed a powerful blow to a nerve center at the base of his neck. The massive alien commander crashed to the floor, paralyzed temporarily but still conscious. Susan stood over him, breathing hard from the exertion. It's over, Commander. Your ships are disabled. Your invasion has failed. Zexiktar had regained his feet and now stood beside her. He spoke to Valkron in their native language, then turned to Susan. He has ordered all forces to stand down. Catherine and Laura arrived on the bridge, accompanied by Richard, who was limping but alive. Catherine held up Olivia's device triumphantly. All systems are under our control, she reported. The alien fleet is helpless. Susan activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting to all hegemony vessels. This is Commander Susan Wright, of Earth. Your command ship has been captured. Your supreme commander has surrendered. The invasion is over. All hegemony forces will withdraw immediately from Earth or face destruction. The following days were filled with the sight of alien ships departing Earth's atmosphere. Under the terms Susan had dictated, the hegemony agreed to recognize Earth as a sovereign world, forbidden from future conquest attempts. Admiral Zexictar remained on Earth as an ambassador of sorts, helping humanity understand the wider galactic community they had now forcefully joined. In return, Earth shared knowledge of their unique defensive strategies. 1 year later, in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Hegemony, a new commander proposed another attempt to conquer Earth, now that they understood the female advantage. Admiral Zexictar, wearing the diplomatic insignia of Earth, simply activated a recording of Susan Wright's final words to Valkron before defeating him. The mistake wasn't attacking Earth's women. The mistake was attacking Earth at all. The proposal was unanimously rejected. Throughout the galaxy, military academies added a new fundamental rule to their strategic teachings. Never, ever attack Earth's women, or you attack Earth at your peril. And on Earth, Susan Wright stood on a hillside watching the stars, knowing that humanity's place in the galaxy was now secure. Not despite their differences, but because of them.